Good evening to you. You can see I've got my pumpkin spice latte here, and I spent most of the day walking around the mall, and I was just reliving some of those moments because I'll tell you what, it was so much fun back then. It was like everything that we touched just like turned to gold, and it was a massive success. And I think a lot of that was because this town here, Casper, Wyoming, we didn't have the big franchises. Like, I just recently moved back here. I've been here 2 months, and I came home because my daughters are here. And little girls are always going to call their daddy home. It doesn't matter, what the reason is. I really don't care for the area. There's nothing here anymore except my daughters. But yeah, this area here has changed so much, and it has grown, and they're in the middle of an oil field boom, so all the big companies are here. And I'm actually living out on the new strip, out on the new development. And there's like new restaurants here. We have like a Sonic down the road, which that's big for Casper. One of my favorite restaurants is called Buffalo Wild Wings. There is I can't think of the name of the restaurant, kind of like a hometown buffet, something Corral. There's a Northwest Corral or something like that here. There's just restaurants in every corner. I think we have like 4 or 5 Starbucks here now. The mall has expanded. It's crazy how things change. And I lived in Pismo Beach for like 6 months, and then I lived in Philadelphia, and then I lived in Vegas, and I lived in Arizona. And really, I've been trying to figure out, what is home for me, but I haven't been able to find home because I was missing the whole point. Chad, you have 2 little girls. Home is where your kids are, right? And that, to me, it took me a while to understand this, but my whole purpose in life, I believe, is to raise and guide those little girls. And so now I'm home, and even though I would not call Casper my home, I'd much rather claim Pismo Beach or something like that. This is home because here's where the girls are, right? So I was strolling down that mall, and I actually went by our old gift store. It's called a poster gallery. It's a poster shop. And, I was just remembering things, and I could still hear the Christmas music playing. I could still smell the coffee. And it was like yesterday for me. And it was such an amazing time. And I tell you what, my partner and I, her name was Crystal, we had a ball, and we had so much fun. And, the sky was the limit back then, but I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that we didn't know what we were doing. So, we had goals out there, and, we weren't sure if we were going to meet those goals, but it was so important back then that we met those goals. It's like today, if I have a new project or if we have a new launch, I'm not dependent on that. If we go out there and we launch it and it doesn't do what we expected, then it's okay. We go and do another one, right? We always have a backup plan, and, our livelihood does not revolve around that product or that project being successful like it did back then, right? Like, we were living check to check and, struggling to pay rent. And so it was exciting when you succeeded, because it was important back then, right? And don't get me wrong. I don't want you to think that, I've lost my drive and determination and things aren't exciting, because things are still very exciting today, right? I love what I do, and I'm very passionate about it. But back then, it was just new, and it absolutely depended on it. We had to be successful. We didn't have a choice. And I've shared this story with a lot of people, right, over a lot of coffees and a lot of beers and everything else. And, my story inspires people. And I think a lot of the reason why is because we were so young, and we didn't have the experience, we didn't have the confidence, and we just faced our fear, right? You'll hear me mention in this email, and if you haven't read the email, please read it right below this video. I mentioned the dance, right? And I never ever sat out that dance. It didn't matter what the reason be, right? It didn't matter if I didn't have the experience. It didn't matter if I didn't have a storefront. It didn't matter if I didn't have a license from the state saying that I could be in business, right? I've always just gone out there and danced with the best of them and just given 110% in everything I've done. And it's the same with business today, right? I face my fears all the time because you have to come out of your comfort zone eventually. And just keep doing that. Keep coming out of your comfort zone. If you're in a comfort zone right now in your business, or maybe you're very good with doing webinars and that's where your comfort zone is, then take the next step. Go up on stage. It's the same thing. It's the same thing what I'm doing with you now, right? Except my audience right now is you via this camcorder, but on stage it's a little bit different, right? But the audience is still the same. The message is still the same. You just got to face your fear, right? So if you're in a comfort zone, get out of that comfort zone, because you're not going to grow. You're not going to be able to get off your plateau until you just face your fears. And what's going to happen is you're going to learn to succeed in facing your fears, and pretty soon you're not going to have fears. It doesn't matter what it is. You could just go out there and conquer the world, right? And I'll tell you what, a lot of people have asked me this too. It doesn't matter if it was a gift shop or a coffee shop or serving Philly cheesesteaks at my restaurants or an online business, whatever I'm involved in. It could have been politics, and you guys would have seen me reach for the stars, right? I would eventually ended up being there with the president, right? I would have had pictures where I was sitting here showing you where I'm standing there with the president, right? That's how confident I am in my abilities. And it's not that I'm smart. You guys learned a long time ago that, I'm just a C student. There's nothing special about me. I struggled in school. I don't have the degrees that everybody thinks I do. I just keep reaching, baby, and I keep dancing, right? And I don't let anything get in my way. And if something scares me, then before I even have time to think about it, before I even have time to rationalize, before I even have time to write down the pros versus the cons or realize, what worst case scenario is, I just go and dive right in, okay? I don't think about it. I just face that fear as fast as I can. And in the middle of that fear, then I find myself saying, okay, Chad, so what's the worst case scenario here? Worst case scenario is they don't like what I'm saying and they don't buy my product and they walk out. And then next time around, I know what to do better. I know how to be a better presenter, how to be a better speaker, right? I usually find myself asking, what's worst case scenario as I'm living that moment. And that's okay, it's worked for me. But if I sit back and I talk to people and I say, well, I'm thinking about doing this, but I'm scared of rejection, I'm scared of the response, I'm just scared altogether, then I'm not going to do it, right? Instead, I just get out there and dive right off the board, right? I don't always know how to swim. Sometimes I sink, but that's okay. I always find my way back up to the surface. And that's what I recommend you do. Get out of your comfort zone and get out there and face your fears. Okay? So, I'm finding myself on another soapbox, but that's okay, because if just one person does what I just told you to do, if you just, whatever your fear is today, if you just face it, maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's doing your first live webinar, maybe it's creating your first product, maybe it's doing your first launch, whatever it is, just do it. Do it. I promise. My dad told me this a long time ago, and it makes so much sense today. And he said this in regards to an IRS situation I was involved in. He has said this regarding my divorce. He said this in a lot of my failed business adventures. He's always said, Chad, just remember, they can't shoot you. Okay? And I'm going to tell you the same thing. They can't shoot you. Tomorrow, you still can wake up, you still have a new day, and you get to do it all over again. But this time, you do it 1% better than you did yesterday. And then the following day, you do it 1% better than you did the previous day. And pretty soon, you're going to grow and you're going to experience success. Trust me. Okay? Just get out there and do it. Do it for me. Let me know how you do it. Okay? Just dive right in. I promise you'll be okay. Now, let's talk about this whole franchise thing. I got to tell you, what a ride. What an experience. what a life lesson, and it's definitely changed my life and the way I do business today. And there's so many things. I mean, I find myself conflicted here because I find myself saying, you know, if I could turn back time, I would definitely do this instead. And then I find myself saying, well, you know, if I could turn back time, I probably wouldn't do anything different because I wouldn't be where I'm at today, right? And I wouldn't have these two beautiful little girls that you see behind me today, probably. I mean, I don't really know, right? I mean, it's hard, and that's something that you know, I struggle with a lot. But this franchise thing, oh, I can't tell you the heartache, the investment of time and money. And I use example, you know, the restaurant, the Philly restaurant. But it's not just a restaurant, right? I've struggled with this throughout every business I've ever had because I've always built it from the ground up, because in the end I thought I was saving money. I thought that was the right thing to do, and as you read in my email, you know, I was a very prideful person back then. Now I'm not so prideful anymore. Because of the experiences that I've gone through in my life, a lot of the same experiences that you guys have gone through, not just failed businesses or you know, building your businesses from the ground up and succeeding, but also you know, relationships, failed marriages, you know, struggles with your kids, stuff like that. I'm no longer a prideful person, and I don't find myself just chasing after the American dollar anymore. Today I know what's important, and that's not it. And I feel like I've gone about things so wrong for so many years, but then again, I wouldn't change those things because I'm wiser today. And today, I know how this game works, and I know the right things to do. And so I talk in the email below about a bar that I've been considering franchising. And I can remember sitting down with my partner years ago and laying out the business plan. We were going to open up a sports bar here in town. It was actually called Chaps. I'm not going to go into detail what her idea was with Chaps, but it was pretty creative, and I guarantee that the ladies would have definitely loved this place, and it would have done very well in this market. And I'm so happy we didn't do this because, oh, if I thought it was rough with the coffee shop and the gift shop and the restaurant, now imagine throwing alcohol in the mix, right? We would have definitely been over our heads. But yeah, we had this whole idea laid out, and I can remember, I can still see that business plan in my head. I wish I had it here to show you guys. You know, we actually talked to the beverage companies and everything else, and we picked out a location, and you know, we started designing this whole thing, and we started working on the menu and everything else, and it was a big investment. And the reason why we did that is because, you know, we thought we were saving money, but time is money. So in the long run, you're not really saving money. But what I know now about franchising versus starting your own business from the ground up, I would much rather franchise any opportunity I have, because I can't even begin to stress how many hours. I'm talking about thousands of hours. I know that sounds over-exaggerated, but it's not. I would get home from work at about 4 or 5 o'clock p.m., and I would be working on that restaurant stuff. I would be playing with, I didn't have Photoshop then. I would be playing with Paint Shop Pro. I would be drafting stuff out. I would be writing menus. I mean, I was always doing this to try to get the best conversions possible in my restaurant, to try to increase business and, you know, make it profitable. And it was so hard, and I look back to all the hours and all the frustration and all the time I lost with my, she was my fiance at the time, and we had a little girl, and you know, that was time I lost with my little girl, and it wasn't worth it. What would have been a better option for us was to take our assets that we had from the gift shop and take our cash flow that we had from the gift shop, along with my savings and a banker who was absolutely in love with us at the time, and sat down and invested in a franchise opportunity, because then we would have had a proven business model. We would have had a marketing campaign that was already effective, something, what you have to understand when you make any business a franchise, and I went through this, I saw what all it entails, is they spend so much money and so much effort split testing, trying different things, bringing eyeballs to the offer, just doing all these things to get it to where it's at today. And what people don't realize is they hear, like 300,000, 700,000 for a franchise, and they think, wow, that's a lot of money. But based on what I saw and how much work, how much money, how much investment, and how much time you have to put to make that business model successful, I don't really think that's a lot of money. But the reason being is because they're not just franchising it off to one person, right? A franchise goes and franchises it off to an entire state or an entire country. And that's what I learned. And it's the same with the product launch. Even though we've gone and invested $5,000 in a product, it doesn't mean that just because we sell for $9.95 that we're going to go in the hole, right? You hear $9.95, you say, well, that doesn't make sense. Why did you spend so much money developing this product and you're only going to sell for $9.95? The thing is, we know that we're going to have 5,000 buyers that are going to be interested in buying that at $9.95, right? It's sold to the masses. It's sold on a massive scale. It's the same thing with the franchise. That's why they're able to take all of those costs and give you such a feasible, conservative fee to get started. And when you don't have to put together your own marketing campaigns, you don't have to build your own logos, you don't have to create your own menus, you don't have to do all these things that require so much time and money. It's a better option for you to go. And that's exactly what I want to do with this bar. There's a bar in Denver, Colorado that we've been looking at. We've had a couple talks with the franchise owners. I don't know. I don't know how serious this is. I mean, I have an idea for the location that's out here by me. And I don't know. It's a big step, and it's something that I'm definitely looking at the pros and cons. And I know, I just got through saying face your fears, jump right in. In this case, I'm going to step back a minute, and I'm going to realize that, I have so much happening online. And I have two little girls, and what's my real reason for wanting that bar? Is it so that I can be successful and everybody knows me? Is it a pride thing? Is it about the money? Is it so I have a new venture? I got to figure that out for myself, because all the reasons I just listed above, truthfully, they're not priority. So I got to figure out exactly what it is I'm trying to do there, and then I'll know the direction. But I do know that I will not start that bar from the ground up. If I do this, I will invest in a proven business model where all the work's been done for me. The logos are done. The menus are created. The restaurant is laid out. They've already built up a solid reputation. Customers already know about this restaurant and bar. Okay? It's already proven. All I got to do is sign on the dotted line, choose location, and plug and play, baby. That's it, right? Simply plug into a proven business model. We're going to talk about proven business models in tomorrow's email. Now, I want to be careful because I keep throwing the word franchise out there, and I want to be very careful when I use this word. Instead of referring to the opportunity you're about to learn about as a franchise, instead I would rather refer to it as a licensing system. When you start using that word franchise, then there's franchise fees and there's a lot of legalities that have to take place in order for that to be a franchise. So even though I'm comparing it to a franchise, essentially it's the same thing. Technically and legally, we're going to refer to it as a licensing system, okay? And anytime I have ever invested in a licensing system, I've always made instant profit. The first time I ever had the chance to invest in a licensing system, even though the cookie cutter, if you remember back to the first email, was an actual licensing system, I just didn't know it. But when I realized that I was actually investing into a licensing system, I was at a mastermind session in Washington, D.C. and I had bought the license rights at this actual mastermind session. And I remember walking back to my hotel. Washington, D.C. is beautiful. I love how everything's just so old and vintage, and you're seeing buildings that have been there since the 1800s, a lot of history. I walked back to the hotel, and I remember walking upstairs, and I got on my laptop, and I actually put this licensing system to work. I think I created a couple cost per click campaigns, just ran some simple traffic, and I remember going to the mastermind session the next day. It was day number 2. And I had my laptop open, and I logged into my back office just to see what, if I had any hits or anything. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked that I had made $4,800 in commissions. And this was a licensing system that belonged to my mentor. My mentor was the one that created this. My mentor is actually the one that helped me put together the same system you guys are about to hear about in tomorrow's email. But I remember turning my laptop to the side, and my mentor's manager was sitting right next to me. We're very good friends now. And I pointed to the screen, and I had my date range selected for just 2 days. And I pointed to the screen, I showed him that $4,800, and his jaw kind of went, like it hit the ground, because I had just bought this system from him yesterday. And here I'm at a $20,000 mastermind. I don't think they were expecting me to put this thing into action already. But I did. And he said, I don't understand. I said, I don't know. I just drove some traffic last night, and here's the result. And he goes, well, yeah, our system works. I know it works, but when did you have time to even set this up? I said, well, what do you mean by set up, right? I mean, you gave me links. I went and paid for some traffic. I ran those links, and, now I'm getting paid. And when you have an effective licensing system, it really is that easy. And since then, I've actually invested in another licensing system from somebody who's in the same circle. I don't want to mention names. And that system has gone on to make me a lot of money as well. I think it was like a $2,800 investment, and it pays out $1,000 commission. And then what happens is they actually get on the phone with the people that have bought your product, and they talk them into buying a $9,000 product, and then they talk them into buying a $15,000 product. That system has done well for me also. But I will tell you, the difference between what I am doing and what everybody else out there on the internet is doing, yes, there's a big difference. First of all, I'm a known product creator. So when I create products, they're rock solid. They have done very well in the community, and people love my products. Number 2, everything you're seeing with these emails, with these videos, you see that I am honest, you see that I am transparent, you see that I have a lot of integrity, and that's the foundation of this whole entire system. And you have a captain that is leading the way. My goal for this opportunity is not to bring on 30,000 or 40,000 affiliates. I don't want that. Because as I demonstrated in the previous emails, there comes a point where it becomes too much to handle. Just like when I opened up multiple locations for the restaurants and I didn't have the foundation in place. I no longer enjoyed my business. I no longer had the passion. Instead, I was in crisis mode just to survive. And I don't ever want to be in that position with this opportunity. Instead, I want to be hands-on with people. I want to help people. I love getting messages on my Skype from people saying, can I work one-on-one with you? Can you teach me how to succeed online? Can you teach me how to create these graphics and become a graphic broker? Can you teach me how to launch products? I love that. That's why I do what I do, because I love it. It's not about the money. It makes me happy, and it makes me satisfied at the end of the day. And that is the foundation of this whole entire licensing opportunity that you're about to find out tomorrow. Okay, so understand that everything you've gone through, you are a part of this system already. And think about how you feel. Think about how I'm connecting with you. And that's what I'm basing this whole entire system on. Now, other people do it different. What they do is they put up videos and they flash cars, they flash mansions, they flash cash. Okay? And I call that a facade. It's BS. And that's the reason why those systems have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% success rate, and the majority of them fail. Because they don't have somebody here who cares and is the captain on the ship to make sure that everybody in this program succeeds. That's my goal. Hopefully you hear that in my voice. Hopefully you see it in my face. I'm very passionate about this business. I love it, and I'm going to do everything I can to help you succeed. The takeaway: invest in a proven business model. Yes, you can go out there, you can try to figure out all this stuff for yourself. When you go through reflections, I've told you the things I've done. I've told you where I've had to buy a green screen, the software that I've used, how I create ebooks, how to find affiliates, how to motivate those affiliates, how to get them to go out there and promote you. Everything is covered in reflections for you to do it yourself. But that's not where I conclude. Where I conclude is adapting into a proven business model, the licensing system. That's what we're going to cover in tomorrow's email. So I hope you got a lot of value in this video. I would really appreciate if you would leave some comments down below. I get a lot of people leaving me comments on Facebook and in my email, but I really want to have comments on this page right below this video, okay, right below the actual email. And if you would do that, I would greatly appreciate it. I promise I will respond to your comments. Face your fears, guys, whatever they are. Today, face those fears. Get out there and do it. Invest in a proven business model. Even if you choose not to get in business with me, and this isn't a product, this is an opportunity and a partnership. Even if you choose not to take me up on my opportunity, that's okay. Invest in a proven business model. You'll be back around. You'll understand how this business works. You'll see everything I'm doing here. You'll be back around. Trust me, I'm very confident on that. But just get out there, give it your best shot. And remember this, keep dancing, baby. We'll see you guys tomorrow.